To begin our lesson, I want you to carefully listen to this simple jazz line. Think of the line you just heard as a slice of chocolate cake all alone in a dish. It's definitely edible by itself, but I think if we add a scoop of ice cream on the side, it'll be a great compliment and make it even more appealing. So listen again with this new addition. The addition you just heard is what we call double stops. And if you're a guitar player with a rock background, you've surely heard this sound before, and I wouldn't be surprised if you've also played it hundreds of times. I'm talking about this. Yep, the intro to Johnny Be Good. And yes, Chuck Berry was fond of using double stops. And not only did they make its way into early rock and roll, but double stops are also an integral element of its roots and predecessor, the blues. You've probably heard and identified the sounds of double stops within the blues throughout your entire life, but they also can be used over practically any set of jazz changes. What's more, the beauty of it is that they tend to add a bluesy flavor to your lines, which many listeners will immediately identify with. I'm Richie Zullen, and I want to welcome you to the Jazz Guitar Channel. And in this lesson, I am going to teach you some double stop lines that you can apply over any jazz standard. But before I proceed, let's define this funny term, double stops. The term was first devised by violinists to denote two notes played simultaneously, but it is applicable to any string instrument, and I would go as far as to include any polyphonic instrument, such as, say, a keyboard. Double stops are actually a kind of counterpoint because you have two notes which are part of two independent lines being played at the same time. That said, one of the most common types of double stops that we encounter in traditional blues is the oblique movement. And this means that one line consists of a single static note while the notes in the other line are constantly moving. Here's a typical blues line using oblique movement with a double stop. And in this first example, the top note is static. There is no movement, while the lower note is going to be moving. Here's an example reversing the concept where the top note is doing all the movement while the lower note in the double stop is static. So now that you know exactly what a double stop is, I want you to hear how it sounds in the context of a typical jazz standard full of 2/5s. So I'm going to purposely try to play just double stop lines over the first 8 measures of the chords to Satin Doll. But keep in mind that normally you wouldn't want to play double stops throughout the entire progression. You want to use them sparingly in different sections to add that bluesy touch in the midst of your single note bebop lines. And stick with me because after this, I will break down and teach you some cool double stops. So let me start by showing you a couple of 2-5-1s so you can start exploring the concept in your own solos. This first one is like something I just played over the satin doll changes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one works great for turnarounds. 1, 2, 3. So here we have a lot of oblique movement. See? The top note is moving. And then again. Next, I want to show you some small fragments that you can use over given chords. These can be used in between single note lines or as fragments to start or end longer lines. And this first fragment is great for embellishing a line, and it's over a dominant chord. You can also apply it over a minor 7 flat 5, and it goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So let me give you an example of how I might use this. Maybe I'd be playing a tune like In a Mellow Tone. Of course, you want to work these little fragments out in different fingerings, so wherever you find yourself on the fretboard, you can use it. I'm going to play it down here. So. The second one is also nice to embellish, also can be used over a dominant. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let me give you an example of how I would use this. Let's do it over like the changes to Our Love Is Here to Stay. This next one is over a C major chord, can be applied to any major chord. It also works over a dominant, and it goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I could use it over Take the A Train. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's over a minor chord. I'm going to play it over an A minor 7. And of course, it can be used over the relative major or even over a dominant or minor 7 flat 5 chord. It goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. And this can be used over a tune like Willow Weep for Me, any minor tune. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you like the sound of double stops, I want to recommend that you also watch another video I did some time ago, which is actually one of my favorites. It's called Jazz Double Stops and Triple Stops with String Bends. And this is a very cool technique, frequently used by John Scofield, but especially by Bill Frisell. So be sure to check it out, and I will place a link in the info section below. Next, I want to show you that all these double stops also work beautifully over a bossa nova. But before I do, as usual, I want to let you know that I have prepared a study package that you can download. It includes a PDF with a combination of 21 double stop lines and fragments for every kind of chord in regular notation and tab. Also a transcription of the 8-measure example over Satin Doll that I played, MP3s of everything, and a band-in-a-box file that you can use to practice more efficiently. And if you don't have band-in-a-box, I am including a MIDI file which you can open up in MuseScore, which is a free notation app you can download. This way you can loop, speed, or slow down the examples and even instantly transpose them to any key. All of this is available for download for a nominal contribution from jazzguitar.richiezeland.com/premium, and you'll find it under the mini courses section. Next, I'm going to briefly improvise over a 2/5 vamp, which is at the beginning and end of the tune Wave by Antonio Carlos Jobim. And this way you can hear how effective these double stops are over a bossa nova groove. Now be sure to use several of the fragments included in the download. If you've listened to a lot of jazz guitarists, you'll probably recall hearing some of these sounds more sparingly in the playing of George Benson, Grant Green, and even post-bop players like John Scofield, to mention just a few. And you'll hear it all over the place in the playing of pianists such as Herbie Hancock, and Oscar Peterson. And I almost forgot to mention that double stops also work great over funk grooves, but I'm sure most of you already know that. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. As usual, I appreciate your likes, comments, and welcome any questions you might have. And if this is your first time on the Jazz Guitar channel, be sure to subscribe and click on that bell icon so you'll be notified of my upcoming lessons. Until we meet again, be sure to practice, practice, practice. And here is another video I think you'll enjoy.